Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's public forum. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our public forum entitled Calling All Applicants. My name is Charles Stott. I'm a co-president of the Nantucket Civic League. The Civic League has four primary goals which direct our priorities and our choices. These are preserving the island's resources, informing the public on island issues, improving the quality of island living, and encouraging participation in town government. Today's forum, Calling All Applicants, is a key element of our civic engagement program. This encourages greater and more diverse participation in town government. We are pleased to engage with the Inquirer and Mirror, our partner in this endeavor. Calling All Applicants has begun to spark broader participation by all Nantucket residents in the town's municipal affairs. We've received many favorable comments on our new annual public forum, especially our short YouTube videos aimed at reaching out to busy people to encourage civic participation. Today's forum will offer practical guidance on the appointment process, how to get yourself appointed as a member of a town committee or to run as a candidate for local elective office. The Civic League has engaged Nantucket Community TV to help us disseminate a series of short videos. These videos are all for would-be citizen participants, our viewers who simply want to volunteer to serve on some committee, and also some of us who may want to run for election to an office. These 5 to 7 minute videos feature interviews with current or past members of the town's many committees. You'll see excerpts of these videos this afternoon. These informative videos offer you a quick, convenient way to grasp what town committee work involves and to appreciate the rewards that such service can offer. They cover the mechanics of seeking appointment or campaigning for election and help you calibrate your own availability to assure a realistic fit with meetings, which may only meet monthly, but could be more often. More generally, the Civic League is offering everyone a permanent window into the day-to-day operations of volunteer committees and elective offices. Also, we hope to institute a mentoring program so that would-be applicants and candidates can access existing committee members as a further resource. Several of the excerpts you'll hear today illustrate what we're already offering via our present YouTube format. This year, many opportunities exist for Nantucket residents to seek elective office. You can run for town moderator, for the select board, the school committee, the Historic District Commission, the Land Bank Commission, the Harbor and Shellfish Advisory Board, a housing authority, the planning board, and lastly, the Board of Water Commissioners. We have a bumper crop of opportunities this year for anyone who aspires to run for office. Nomination forms are available now, and you have to return the form by Wednesday, March 22nd. Nantucket voters will decide the winners on Tuesday, May 23rd. In today's forum, you'll hear all the details regarding the nomination forms, the necessary number of signatures, and so forth. Later this year, the Select Board will make appointments to many town boards and commissions. You'll hear more about this process in a few minutes. Bottom line, if you're thinking about running for elective office or just volunteering to be appointed to a committee, listen to what follows. And now, I'm pleased to introduce the Civic League's past president, Alan Reinhardt, who is our moderator today.
Thank you, Charlie. My job as moderator is to simply direct the traffic here between the speakers and that sort of thing. The purpose of this forum, as Charlie just pointed out, is to encourage people in Nantucket to get involved with the local government. And there are a couple of reasons for this. I mean, one of the things that happens by serving on these various town committees and so on is that it helps to develop a sense of community. It gives you an understanding as to how the government works. It gives you an appreciation of the decisions that the various boards, committees, and commissions have to make. And in reviewing the town's list of opportunities, let's put it that way, of different boards, committees, and commissions, and so on, there are a total of 33 boards, plus the elected boards, the selectmen, the land bank, and so on. Altogether brings it over 40 different committees, boards, and commissions that are available. The membership requirements, as you will find out in this program, are pretty straightforward. And again, the purpose of this program is to encourage people to, if you have an interest, reach out to any of the committee chairs and so on, and that will get you connected to them. So first off, then we're going to hear from Chantal Blois Murphy, and we will hear an excerpt from her presentation.
Alan, you want to start at the part one, perspectives on civic participation with me.
So you're starting with this.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, okay. So the perspectives on civic participation, we'll hear from Peter Morrison, co-president via Zoom. We'll hear from Josh Balling on as a YouTube excerpt, and we'll hear from Libby Gibson, our town manager, again via Zoom, and Kamal Murphy, who is here present, and they will discuss the various aspects of involvement with town government.
Okay, thank you, Alan. I just wanted to briefly kick off our forum with a perspective that I have, and it's intended to get you to think about really what makes Nantucket unique. And as I like to say, Nantucketers have always respected this long-standing distinction between those of us who are native-born islanders and those of us who, like myself, are off-islanders who've taken up residence here, gently termed washashores. You are a Nantucketer through the lottery of birth, but you become a Nantucketer by choice. And these choices are manifested in the thousands of seasonal residents and temporary workers who come and go annually. And over time, a select group of them form attachments to this place. And they topple off that conveyor belt, the annual conveyor belt, and eventually some of them choose to make Nantucket their home. And it's important to recognize that this element of deliberate choice is what distinguishes the washashores in ways that we really can't measure, but matter a lot. I like to compare it to, use a metaphor of a prism that separates light, and the conveyor belt delivers a steady influx of these self-selected persons, many of whom are pursuing a better life than some other place of birth could possibly offer them. So Nantucket is constantly being replenished and in the process being transformed by individuals who are drawn here from around the world We have people whose origins trace to Latin America, Eastern Europe, Asia, Australia. We have all the hallmarks of an immigrant gateway community, just on a miniature scale. Unlike our larger counterparts, Los Angeles, Miami, New York, Nantucket is remarkable for the tradition of extending a welcoming hand, of incorporating newcomers instead of isolating them. Our community is more welcoming than most to those who've washed ashore, and I offer that as one direction for our further thought today. How do we activate civic participation across this extraordinary mosaic of communities who have made Nantucket home? And I'd like you to think about that and now listen to a presentation that Josh Balling made. Josh is with the I&M, of course. He made this at our debut forum last year, and it was so good, I just wanted to repeat this excerpt again here. This is going to be excerpt number 1.
Thanks, Shanta. The Inquirer and Mirror welcomes any opportunity to participate in initiatives like these that encourage greater participation in local government. Outside of those organizations themselves, we're probably in one of the better positions to really observe what happens at all levels of town government, given how much effort we put into covering them. And it's become pretty clear over the last decade or two that Nantucket has really become a truly diverse community, one of the most diverse in the state. And that's clearly indicated in our schools, in our workforce, but right now, not necessarily in public office. And with diversity of population comes diversity of viewpoint. The more viewpoints that are considered, the better decisions can be made. And the best government is one that represents all its people, not just those who shout the loudest or have the most time to serve. It's often on these boards and committees, appointed especially, and advisory groups, where the groundwork is laid for those policies that drive how the town moves forward and best prepares for change. And there's a lot of change right now. Sea level rise, the challenges of affordable housing. Seeking appointment to local boards, committees, and commissions is an excellent way to get started, to explore public service, and most importantly, to let your voice be heard, to represent your interests, the interests of your neighbors, the interests of your community, and provide a perspective that might be missing. And I think has been mentioned a couple of times before, Nantucket is a small town that's a big town. There are dozens of opportunities to participate and to serve with all kinds of time commitments and responsibilities. If you're interested in public service, there's sure to be one that's compatible with how much time you have, even if it's not all that much, and where your interests lie. Some of these boards, committees, and commissions only meet once a month, others more frequently. It's really a good place to get your feet wet and see if public service is for you.
Next up is our town manager, Libby Gibson.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you, everyone. I'm sorry I'm not there in person, but very much appreciate being included today. We actually have more like 37 committees, and those do not include ad hoc work groups or elected boards, committees, or commissions. We have a variety of types: regulatory, advisory, and others. I'll get into the appointment process and the timeline in a little bit. And I just wanted to make note that, as has kind of been referenced, we have a lot of talent in our community with expertise in a variety of areas that can really be helpful if people don't want to get, deeply involved, like in an elected kind of a way. There are a lot of appointment opportunities and volunteer roles for people. We really encourage people to get involved. So thank you so much. And I would turn it over to Kamal. Kamal McCarthy is a town's DEI director, and he has been spending a great deal of time over the past year working on a strategic plan, a DEI strategic plan for the town. Kamal.
Thanks, Libby. Can you guys hear me? Even closer? Okay. This is a lot more nerve-wracking than I thought it would be. Good afternoon. I am Dr. Kamal McCarthy, and I'm the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Director for the town of Nantucket. When I started this position in 2021, one of the first organizations to contact the DEI office was Nantucket Civic League. I must admit that I was taken back by the group's open arms and welcomeness, as I was still in the process of trying to figure out what DEI was all about. Continuous participation with the Civic League, specifically attending monthly meetings, allowed me and the League to get a better understanding on how we can assist each other. The Civic League has been committed to engaging, informing, and activating both nurtured and natural leaders in the community. I think we're having this forum today because the League's commitment to all areas of local government is unwavering, and the League recognizes that there are many benefits that diverse opinions and individuals can bring to a number of situations. Frankly, all aspects of municipal government can be examined with a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens. And the Civic League is the local watchdog that continues to pay attention to all aspects of municipal government. So it is not surprising that the League wants to spotlight the significance of DEI in a context of encouraging residents to volunteer for local committees or run for elected office. Today's event is about engagement, having a voice on how things are done or should be done in your community. Today's event is about being informed, recognizing that everyone has the capability to get involved, to volunteer your availability, even if that time is limited. Today's event hopes to activate residents, to inspire you to get involved in the community you reside. I encourage everyone here and those watching to check out the collection of videos the Civic League recorded with members of the community that are involved at different levels of community government. So after all that, here's my actual pitch. We need all residents, especially people of color, to become more involved on a local level. We need citizens, a part of Nantucket's Eastern European, Latinx, Jamaican, and other communities to share how we can improve local services. For example, how do we ensure that language is never a barrier to getting equitable services? We need the island's Black and African-American residents to demand a greater sense of inclusion by running for office or being a part of the decision-making processes that impacts all residents. And we need women, members of the LGBTQ+ community, and other marginalized groups to help demonstrate that diversity is not a weakness, but an untapped American resource. Diversity is our collective strength. Civic engagement is the backbone of a sustained democracy. On behalf of the Civic League and DEI office, it is my humble request that you either become involved, continue your participation, or mentor a resident that is curious or willing to participate in sustaining democracy in our community. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll hear from Chantal Blas Murphy, Director of Culture and Tourism.
Just before you show it, though, we're going to see a little cross-section of some Stop and Shop opinion that NCTV was able to collect for us. So if we can have the video that is prepared for this.
So my name is Bryce. I lived on Nantucket 2.5 years.
Have you ever volunteered or considered to volunteer for a town committee?
Ooh, I have not thought about that. Nantucket seems like a great place to live.
My name is Rocky Fox, and I'm born on Nantucket, and I lived here 50+ years.
Awesome. And have you ever volunteered or considered to volunteer for any town committees?
Right now, I sit on the school committee.
And been living here full-time for 11 years.
Oh, wonderful. And Have you ever volunteered or considered to volunteer for a town committee?
No, I volunteer elsewhere, but not for a town committee.
Okay, Chantal, what do you have to say about that?
Thank you very much. My name is Chantal Blois Murphy. Thank you for having me this afternoon. Not only do I serve as the town's Director of Culture and Tourism, but I also serve as one of the trustees on the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I volunteer my time at the Nantucket Boys and Girls Club on their Parent Advisory Committee, in addition to helping with some of their fundraising events. Just to name a few of the things that I'm doing this year. I've lightened my load a bit as I get more comfortable and learn more about my role within the town as an employee. But I would like to encourage particularly young people in the community to get involved. Civic engagement empowers young people to not only advocate for themselves, but for advocate for others. It encourages an inclusive and equitable community that significantly improves quality of life on the island. I can say that by simply having gotten involved on small committees, boards, commissions, and trusts, and even being included in work groups, it's really offered me an insider lens into how Nantucket really runs. It has made me appreciate life on Nantucket a lot more, and I can truly say is really the reason that despite graduating from high school and heading off to college, is really the reason I came back, because I feel a sense of ownership and belonging on islands. Teddy Roosevelt, the founder of one of the founders of the National Civic League, says it best: be actors and not merely critics of others. So in millennial or Gen Z speak, I would like to say, don't just talk about it, be about it. With that being said, I would like to turn to an excerpt from Reverend Tom Richard of the Nantucket United Methodist Church from last year's videos.
We have been devoted, and we have had devoted people historically who have stepped in, who've been appointed and elected to positions, various positions. And I'm delighted that many of them were actually people in our religious organizations, felt an ethic or a responsibility to be engaged. I was delighted. The survey that we did of our congregation to find out how many people we had in elected or appointed offices just blew my mind, because there were almost 70% of our active membership in the church who are volunteering on community councils, boards, and committees. Nothing can make a minister happier than that.
Thank you very much. You know, a part of what was not shown in this particular video from last year that stuck out to me about the good Reverend is that he volunteered many moons ago on his kids, I believe it was his kids' soccer team, as a coach. And it was so funny to me hearing the passion that he shared about what it was like being involved in his community, and really having someone say, after he had a comment to say about the lack of a soccer team, they said, "Why don't you start one?" And so he did. You know? So I thought it was really nice hearing how someone else in the community heard him share an opinion or criticize a certain lacking in an area, and him being encouraged to do it, and really taking the torch and leading that. I'd like to take that and lead into a video excerpt from Maria Partida, one of our prominent community volunteers, and quite frankly, a leader of this community, someone that no matter what time of the day or night you call, if you need help, she's always there, willing and able to offer her assistance in any way that she can. So I'll turn to that video. Thank you.
When I started volunteering, I remember getting involved with the school. That was my first step. If I have the way to do it, I will do it. Getting to know wonderful people, because the people that serve on the different committees here on island are just wonderful. They're great. Their hearts, it's what really amazed me. They're willing to help. They're willing to serve. They're willing to find solutions for the different issues here, with the community.
If you live on Nantucket, that also comes with the responsibility of getting involved in civil matters. So remember, if you don't take actions, others will do for you. And the results could not be the correct ones for you or for me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the invitation. It comes from my heart.
Thank you for that. And it's really that passion and that heartfelt drive that has really drawn me to Maria, and I'm sure many of us as community members to her as well. I'd like to now turn to Vanessa Rendero, who is on this call as well, but she is an appointee of the Council for Human Services. But before we turn to her live, I'd like to share her excerpt from last year as well, please.
My name is Vanessa Rendero. I've been living in Nantucket for about 12 years. I'm a full-time resident, and I'm very happy to be part of Nantucket community. I'm Brazilian, and so I'm from Amazon rainforest area. I'm from the capital city called Belém. And by that time, I was working as an English and Portuguese teacher. I'm a high and middle school teacher in Brazil. So, and then I decided on coming here to join my husband. So, and I've been here since then. I've been studying English since 13 years old, and I never stopped. So to work on this field, interpreting and translation fields, I started last year, early pandemic, when I got a text message from Carla Zenis, asked me if I could help Nantucket Cottage Hospital in translating some important announcements and statements to the Brazilian community. And then I never stopped. So I've been translating for many organizations on island. And then a few months later, I decided on register my translation company called The Translator's House. So, but I still working on volunteer basis every day, every single day. I assist not only the Brazilian community, but also the Hispanic as well. And then the select board members voted, on the candidates. And I'm so happy that I got all their votes. And I remember that I was like thinking, oh my God, who am I to be like, to have this wonderful opportunity to join, Nantucket community more and help more. So, the council it's a privilege to be there.
Thank you for sharing that video, Vanessa, and thank you, of course, for serving. I'd like to turn it over to you and get an update about what's been going on for the last year.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here again. Thank you for the invitation, Peter. So yeah, now I told that I am a middle and high school teacher, but now I'm a pre-K teacher. So yeah, now and I'm taking college classes as well, and Cape Cod Community College, studying pedagogy, so early education. So I'm very excited. So yeah, I could start by saying that you know helping develop this sense of community. Everything happened like in back in 2017 when I was invited by Linda Simmons to be one of the founding member of Nantucket Immigration Resource Center. I'm still working for it on daily basis, but on in 2020 when I got the invitation from Carla to help translate all that documents from Nantucket community, or Nantucket Cottage Hospital, and so it was like amazing, to be that bridge and to bridge communication between the town and organizations and the community and the immigrant community. And then not late, well, some days later, I was talking to Brooke, and when she was like she explaining about town, and she said, why not, Vanessa, you could try and see, and be and serve the town, help us to understand the immigrant community more. So I'm very thankful for Brooke more as well, because I had a very nice experience. It was very nice, to help um, the council to we gather ideas, we exchanged ideas, we like invested our time and find solutions for many kind of issues, help to address. So I think it's very important, members of the community, the immigrant community, to join the town, to be that bridge, so that the town can understand and address the issues much better. So I just had a very nice and experience. I just have good memories, and but look, I'm still working, in being this bridge on Nantucket for between all the organizations who call me and need me, to address all the situations to the immigrant community. So thank you. And Shana, I'd like just to say just a few words in Portuguese. Is that okay? Eu gostaria de chamar você da comunidade imigrante. Você, a nossa comunidade é cheia de talento, pessoas diversificadas. Eles querem ouvir opiniões diversificadas. Eles querem entender como que a Câmara Municipal de Nantucket pode ajudar os brasileiros, a comunidade hispânica. Então, se você gostaria de se juntar aos conselhos municipais, aos comitês, participe. Nós precisamos de você, precisamos que você seja voz para a nossa comunidade, tá bom? Obrigada. Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing that. I'm surprised that I understood most of what you said. So
Oh,
I'm
that's
so glad.
nice, because of the Spanish. It's kind of similar a little bit.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate that you chose to do that in Portuguese, to really drive it home. So I can't thank you enough. And I hope that those who will be watching this afterwards see that giving your time and volunteering and getting involved in community boards and issues really opens doors and creates so many opportunities that you can't even begin to foresee. So at the very least, getting involved introduces you to people in the community that you never even thought you would have had access to be able to learn from. And that has been such a great part of volunteerism for me, at least. Now, with that being said, I would like to turn it over to an excerpt from last year from Brooke Moore, an elected member of the Select Board. I could list all of the other boards, committees, commissions, and trusts that she has served on, but they are so long. Brooke, I think, is a serial volunteer of Nantucket. Very much appreciate being able to call her a friend, and again, one of those people that you can call on no matter the time of day or night, and she'll have a solution, or at least help you work towards one. So I'd like to turn to that excerpt. Thank you.
It's really fun and it's really interesting to see how government works. And more importantly, on Nantucket, one has the opportunity to affect change in a way that you wouldn't have in a larger community. You really can change things. For someone who's not ready yet, just going to meetings and maybe practicing making comments in the public comment portion. There's a public comment portion in every meeting. And if you have something you want to talk about, or there's a discussion of something of interest to you and you have a suggestion or an opinion, that practicing by participating as a public member in public meetings is a really easy way to get your toe in the water. When you join a committee for the first time, there's definitely an opportunity to take a back seat and listen and learn. For anyone who's interested in our governance or how our community runs and how to have an influence on that, you can start by just attending public meetings. Just start going. There are always openings available across the board. A little bit of investigation might help one find a board or committee that will be really easy to get appointed to. There's an openness to people who are serving already to help others.
And now I'd like to turn to Brooke, who is joining us live.
Thanks, Shanta. Wow, I'd forgotten about that video, what I said. Start small. I'll just repeat that. I mean, that's how I got involved, is just getting involved in little ways, talking to people. And now look, I was elected to the select board. I never expected that to happen. And what I really want to say as a select board member now is the information pipeline from all the boards and committees through to the ultimate decision-making at the select board level is critical. We can't know everything, and we rely a lot on the expertise and information that boards and committees present to us to inform our decision-making at the select board level. And so it is really a pyramid of support to the decision makers at the top, whether that's on a regulatory board or the select board itself. And so every voice matters. And for me, multilingual communication and access and participation has been a passion of mine. It really became critical to all of our health during COVID, and really shone a light on how it's important that we stay interconnected and that we communicate well with one another, regardless of language spoken, and that to make everyone in the community, or help everyone in the community, feel welcome, to have their voice to heard, and to feel comfortable speaking their truth and speaking their needs, because what we do at the select board level and what we do across government affects people's lives. And democracy depends on everybody's voices being heard. And I really want to encourage folks to find small ways and large ways to step up to the mic, to step up to a seat, to run, and to participate, because your voice matters, regardless of where you're from, how long you've been here. I've only lived here full time for 10 years, and it doesn't matter whether you've been a lifelong resident of Nantucket or as Peter said, a wash ashore. Your voice matters, and I want to hear from everybody, and I want everyone to feel safe and invited to participate.
Thank you very much for that, Brooke. I'd also like to say that I think, just speaking from an immigrant's perspective on island, it's really hard when you've moved to a new place and you're trying to find your footing in general, and then you're thinking of becoming involved, but their work schedules and their children, and there's so many things that get in the way of that. But I really do encourage you to go onto the town's website, nantucket-ma.gov, and take a look at the list of boards, committees, commissions that are on there. And each one of those has a list of the chairs. It has a list of the members of those boards. And it is definitely worth contacting someone from those groups to talk to them about what the time commitment looks like. I remember the first group I got involved with, I had to ask my manager at the time if I can use my lunch break once per month. I took that hour at a specific time so that I could attend this meeting, and I promise I'll be back in time. I won't take more than that hour, and that is how I started getting involved in these groups. So know that there is a way to work around it. They meet, some meet during the workday, some meet after hours. You can really find something that piques your interest. With that being said, I would like to turn to an excerpt from Pauline Proch, the Vice Chair of the School Committee.
I think some of the challenges that people may sort of hesitate from running, and I hear this from people who call me and ask if I can have a cup of coffee or can I have a telephone call just to talk about what it's like on school committee, is I think the fear number one of running a campaign and feeling like they wouldn't necessarily know how to actually run a campaign. And another one is really being concerned about how much time it would take. And of course, in any committee, there is going to be that learning curve, and that it is going to be as long as you're willing to put in the time. I'm still learning, but it takes about a year or so. And again, I think this is an example of what we're trying to change, is that we want to see people run and put their name in the hat to be considered for a position.
Thank you for that. And I also want to build on that a bit and say that if the first time you try and you don't get selected for that committee or board or group in general, I encourage you to try again. Don't let that discourage you. It seems very daunting to put your hat in the bucket, but I can't stress enough how important it is to keep trying so that your voice can be heard. I would also like to now turn to our final video, which is a video from Rita Higgins, our former member of the Select Board.
For me, campaigning was a completely different experience than actually being on the Select Board, and an element of being politically involved that I hadn't really considered and just hadn't experienced anything like it before. The way that I approached Select Board, I was really coming in without any experience and with what I would consider a very limited network of friends that were mostly based on work and just sort of casual acquaintances that turn into long-term friendships. To campaign, you have to, the very first thing that you do is pull your papers. And the first 3 people that signed my papers told me I probably wouldn't win, that I didn't have a chance, but they would sign my papers. And from that moment on, you really get launched into exactly what campaigns everywhere are like, where there's a lot of shaking hands and meeting new people. And it's wonderful and it's exhausting all at once. And it is radically different from actually serving on the board. So for me, it was a baptism of fire, jumping in the deep end. And it was fulfilling and exhausting, but I felt like immediately, even if I hadn't gone on to win the election, I had already seen a side of Nantucket that in the years leading up to running for the board, I had never experienced. In order to campaign, I don't think you need to have a full operation to do it. I did not. Again, I was really starting very fresh and with very little experience, but you will find that there are people on the island that you don't know at all. They find out that you're running and they just want to support you. And so there are people that become your support network. And then I did have a core group of friends who came together, and it was a group of friends that under no other circumstances would they all come together at one point in time, but they all came together to help me campaign and come up with different ideas. And I sort of had one right-hand woman who was there, and I recommend that you need a right-hand person.
Okay, well, you got the inside story on how to campaign, how difficult it is, how exhausting, but how fulfilling it may be.
For me,
Awesome. Thank you. Now, as Rita mentioned in her video, pulling your papers, I want to remind everyone that nomination papers are available, and the deadline to have those returned to the town clerk's office is March 22nd for the May 23rd election. There are a number of open seats at the moment, everything from town moderator to select board, school committee, land bank, harbor and shellfish advisory, housing authority, planning board, and water commission, just to name a few. On those papers, you need 53 signatures at minimum from registered Nantucket voters, but you're being encouraged to gather more than those 53 to ensure that that you have enough. I'd like to thank you guys for having me this afternoon, and I'm going to turn it back over to you.
So now we'll hear from our town manager, Libby Gibson, and she'll give a brief overview of the timeline, the steps, and who to contact within the town.
Okay, so last year, I think Erica did a very good comprehensive overview of this, but to give a little bit of a review of that, we have a committee appointment process. It is available on the town website. And I was going to see if I could share my screen for it. Is that possible? You want me to do that? Oh,
yes.
I'll take that as a yes. Okay. Let me see if I can make that happen. Hold on. All right, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the select board's committee appointment process. And as you can see, I'll just take you through it. And again, it's online, has a basic goal, has some policies in support of the goal, has the specific voting procedures for annual appointments. And that goes on for quite a bit. Applicants typically have an opportunity to introduce themselves at a meeting or two before the appointments are actually made, and the names of applicants are announced 2 or 3 or 4 times before the select board makes the appointment. And that's all very well advertised, and it's placed on the select board's announcement section of its weekly agenda. Again, voting procedures here. We have developed a talent bank, a volunteer talent bank that's administered by the town admin office. If people are interested in a committee, board, or commission, I was just going to say committee going forward, and they're not quite sure which one, or maybe they have a committee in mind, but there aren't any vacancies available just yet, they can certainly fill out a committee interest form and send it to us, and we will keep it in the talent bank. And when a position comes up, we will notify the people in case they would like to apply. We also have, I'll stop that for just a second. We also have, in accordance with the what am I trying to call it? The appointment process. We have a timeline, an annual timeline that we develop starting right around now every year. And that is also going to be posted online. I think it's online now. And if I could just quickly share that, I can show you what that looks like. I think it is this. So the board will start reviewing the list of openings in early April. Members of whose terms are expiring will start getting notified in April as well, and they are more than welcome to re-up or ask to re-up. advertisements go in the paper. These are the various deadlines for, there are deadlines for the submittal of applications, and the deadlines are pretty firm. Applications submitted after the deadline are typically not accepted. They could go in the talent bank though. So this is just, and again, this will be online if it isn't already, and it will be in the select board's packet in the next couple of months. Ultimately, this will lead up for fiscal 2023 of committee appointments on June 28th. There are a few other things to make note of with regard to committees. We have a committee handbook, and that is available online, that reviews how committees generally are expected to operate and how they're appointed. It reviews the open meeting law, the conflict of interest law, public records, how meetings are typically run, what the staff committee relationship is. There is a code of conduct, and we are really trying to focus on civility. Some committees have access to budgets, most do not. Most committees are going to have to take their own minutes. There are minute-taking requirements. And let's see, I'm just looking over my notes here. I think those are that's just a basic overview. And again, Erica wanted me to show one more thing. This is just a quick overview of what is currently open. I can get back to the screen share. Hang on a second. This thing would move out of the way. I'm not in the office right now. I'm without a double screen. It's hard to do this. Well, I can't get the screen share to show, but online, we do have a list of all of the seats that are open, when they expire, and I'll just list a few of them off. Agricultural Commission has current seats available. The Airport Commission will have seats available. The Board of Health, Capital Program Committee, Cemetery Commission, the Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee, Conservation Commission, Council for Human Services, Finance Committee. I'm not reading all of them, just kind of the bigger ones. Historic District Commission Associate, the Nantucket Historical Commission, the Roads and Right-of-Way Committee, the Scholarship Committee, the Tree Advisory Committee, the Zoning Board of Appeals. There's a lot of groups out there. So if you're interested, please take a cruise through the town website and take a look at what we have out there and what's available, and really consider applying. Again, we're very much focused on engaging with the public and hoping that they'll get involved in helping us run our town government. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ready? Okay, and now Nancy Holmes, our town clerk.
Thank you so much, Alan. As Alan mentioned, I'm the town clerk here in Nantucket. And what we've been talking about here today are two different things: committees and elected positions. And Libby, as you know, just spoke about all the committees that we have here on Nantucket, 37 or so, that you can apply, as Libby just explained, and get appointed to. Another thing that Libby touched upon, and Erica had gone into more depth last year, and I'm bringing up because I noticed there was a letter to the editor this week that Nantucket should have a talent bank, when in fact, greatly, we do have a talent bank, which is nice. And Libby had mentioned that you can apply online if you're not sure you want to run for elected office. You're not sure that you want to try to be appointed to a committee, but maybe you have a little time or talent to give. You could put your name in there, apply in the talent bank, and your information is kept for 2 years. And Erica has done a great job getting that going, and I think has gotten a lot of resources and help through there. But what I'm really here to talk about is elected positions. And what elected positions are coming up this year. We have some every year. And to run for elected office, you do have to be a registered voter. So if you are interested in any of the elected offices, which Charlie had touched upon before, and I'm going to detail again, you would come to my office down at the town building at 16 Broad Street. The nomination papers are now available, and they do need to be returned by Wednesday, March 22nd. So you still have about 5-6 weeks. And this is what a nomination paper looks like. We would take your information, give you these nomination papers, and this year you actually need 50 signatures, not 53, but 50. But in case, you know, any of them are incorrect, these signatures must be from registered voters. So in case there is anybody that signs your papers that isn't, or any other small errors, we'd recommend that you get 60 to 64 signatures just to have a few extra. When you return these nomination papers to us by the date of March 22nd, anytime in between, our office certifies all those signatures and verifies through the state voter registry that they're indeed registered voters. And if all your signatures are certified, then you would go on the ballot. Your name would be put on the ballot for our annual town election, which this year is Tuesday, May 23rd. And there are a variety of offices open this year. And although Charlie touched upon them, I'm just going to briefly read them in the terms. This year we have the moderator term. There's one moderator in the town, and that is now a 3-year seat. We have 2 seats on our select board, and those are also 3-year seats. We have 2 seats available on our school committee. Those are also 3-year seats. 2 seats on our Historic District Commission, also 3-year seats. 1 seat on our Nantucket Islands Land Bank Commission, that's a 5-year seat. We have 2 seats available on our Harbor and Shellfish Advisory Board, and those are 3-year seats. We have 1 seat available on the Nantucket Housing Authority, that is a 5-year seat this year. We have 1 seat available on our planning board, which is also a 5-year seat this year. And we have 2 seats available on our Nantucket Water Commission, and those are also 3-year seats. So as you can see, there's a variety of elected offices. If you are interested and you're uncertain, you can also stop by and talk to us, ask questions. We have an information sheet available. Call us, email us, stop by. However, we can help you with information about running for elected office. And to just end with the 2 types of volunteering that we've spoken about today, being on a committee or running for elected office. You know, again, I would hark back to what both Brooke and Chantal touched upon. You can always start small. That is a great way to go. Maybe your life is very busy. Most of us are in that position where our lives are very busy. You have children, you're working a lot, but attend a meeting, go to a couple of meetings, watch them on Zoom if they're available that way. Consider getting involved in your child's school meetings, or go to a principal's meeting or a parent council meeting or school committee meeting. There's many ways to get involved, and it's just starting with small steps by becoming engaged and with what's going on, and consider lending your voice. Thank you so much.
Me again? Okay, now we move to the question and answer period. Yes, Lee, Mr. Saperstein, would you come forward to the speaker, the microphone?
Thank you. I am 50% of the audience. One of the things that we've talked about is people applying. I'd just like to add a little bit of suggestion. The application is in writing. And by the way, the application, when it's submitted, goes into the select board packet, and the packet is available to every citizen on Nantucket to read. And so my suggestion is if you apply, make it legible. I'm fairly adept with a computer, so my applications have all been printed. There are people who don't have computers. Please write them very legibly, print if you have to. And yes, we all want to give something back to Nantucket. 75%, that's a made up number, but it's a large percentage of the applications say, now that I'm here, I want to give something back. We accept that. But also personalize your application. What do you have to offer the town? In my case, I taught surveying as an engineering educator. And so I'm involved in committees where reading deeds and looking at property makes sense. And that's what I offered. And so make it legible, make it where you can show your contribution. And you know what? You might get accepted. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Lee. Are there any other questions from the audience? Seeing none, then, oh, I'm sorry.
Can I say a word, Alan? This is Peter again. I just want to make a comment to people who are, considering why I should do this. And if you're a wash ashore, as I was in 2005, I had the good fortune of being told, why don't you sign up for a seat on one of these committees? And I said, well, I don't know any much about this place, but I love airplanes. In fact, we got just the slot for you, the Airport Advisory Committee. And what I found thereafter was a sequence of kind of light obligations, maybe getting together once a month. It gave me the opportunity to get to know a whole range of people here on island whom I wouldn't have met. And that's one of the hidden benefits if you have come here and you just want to dip your toe in the water, as it were. You get to meet all sorts of new people, and they turn into lasting friendships, and you find yourself suddenly becoming more engaged than you ever thought you would. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to say that people with expertise are welcome, but people without expertise are also welcome. That perspectives from everyone matter. And if you're willing to learn and you have a passion for a piece of how town runs, I encourage you to apply. That don't be concerned about the degree or the job experience or having the resume for the job, because I've learned a ton about things I had no past experience on in my participation in government. It was just affordable housing. I knew nothing about it. And then I joined the Affordable Housing Trust, and now I know a lot about it. And you can contribute whether or not you bring background and expertise in the subject matter as well.
If I may, Alan, I'd like to expand on what Brooke has just said. I think it's, while it's not significantly important to have expertise or education that will help to contribute to the work of the committee or commission or board, what really is essential is to have an interest in it. Let me give you my own personal experience. Back around 2012, a group of us who live out in Nantucket decided that the mosquitoes were just so terrible. There were people that would have to wrap their children in blankets and on their way out to their car. They were so terrible that we decided to do something about it. And we were able to get a warrant article adopted at town meeting to establish a mosquito control commission and to allocate $100,000 for mosquito control. I knew nothing about mosquito control, but because of my interest, when the commission was established, I applied for it, was appointed, and became chair of the Mosquito Control Commission. One of the things that's so good about contributing to town government is the sense of satisfaction that you get from succeeding. And I can tell you that out in Nantucket now, you sometimes go the entire summer without seeing a mosquito. So Go for it.
Okay, Peter, I believe we are out of questions. Let me just add a personal comment. If you're wondering about all those committees, as our town clerk pointed out, there are over 40 different boards, committees, commissions, and so on. Currently, there are, I believe, 170, 180 people serving on those various committees. And if you are curious, in, I guess this is not on, in the annual town report, and you'll see that they're in the town building, you'll find in the front of it a list of all the different committees, what the terms are, that sort of thing. So if you look for this booklet next time you're into the town clerk's, sort of the town clerk's office, but the town building, there's a listing there of the different committees, and it might just sort of pique your interest. And I would add to what Charlie mentioned just a minute ago. As far as getting involved with the community, if you're really interested in getting involved in the community, if you're concerned about things in the town, signing up, raising your hand, getting involved with the town government is one of the best ways to address that. That's one of the things that the Civic League, of course, tries to encourage. We published a history of the Civic League. It's called Something Should Be Done, a very appropriate title. It's a fascinating story of Nantucket's history from basically the 1890s up through almost the present day. And it will give you some background into issues that the town has faced over many years. With that, Peter?
Alan, if I could just interrupt, we have some questions coming in on the chat box that's showing on my computer and your computer. And I think the first question is from somebody whose name is Sarah. Is that right?
Yes, thank you so much, sir. I just had a question in terms of, I guess I am presently on a council and I am incredibly appreciative of being appointed. But I've found in terms of trying to find out about other committees that I might want to serve on, or just general information that's similar to that on the town website, if one isn't able to go into town and go to the town building, is not terribly accessible. It's absolutely there. I understand that, but I find it very frustrating, and I'm sure that other people do too. I just didn't know if anything is in the works in that capacity.
Let me just give a brief prelude to someone else who can answer that, but I know it takes a little bit of learning to find your way to the right place. And in the interim, let me simply offer, if you contact either Charlie Stott or myself, my email is petermorrison@me.com. And just say, where do I go on the website to find this stuff? I know where it is. It took me a few minutes to find it, and I'll email you back exactly where to go. I know the way through the thing. Now, somebody else wants to answer this, please go ahead.
I don't know if you want me to answer or not, but I don't think citizens should have to go to private citizens to figure out how to navigate the town website, but that is a very nice offer, and thank you for offering it. I guess I need to know a little bit more specifically, Sarah. Maybe we can have an offline conversation about what it is that you find frustrating about it. We are in the process of advertising for a public outreach coordinator. We've just established a communications manager position, which is the same person who was our public outreach manager. We've done a little reorganization to develop more of a communications division within town administration. And we are definitely open to input and feedback as to how to make the website more navigable and easier to use. But we're happy to maybe have an offline conversation with you about the specifics of what you find difficult.
Thank you so much. I think that's very helpful. I think it's just been my experience. For instance, I had to go to a specific department the other day for information regarding something very random. And the person that was a very nice person wasn't really able to articulate where I could find some information. And it was just sort of so anyway, she asked me to write to Erica, which is always helpful. But it just was frustrating. And I find that is not, I just don't think that should be people's experience with our town. And I had one other question in terms of the publicizing or just getting the word out about these positions or when it's time to apply and all of that, which I think is very important. And I understand that the Inquirer and Mirror is the newspaper of record, and I have great respect for it. But I think that as a community, we would acknowledge that there are other avenues that go out to the public that people are paying attention to. And I'm not talking about legal postings, but simply the information that those things are available, maybe even an advertisement on those websites. It just seems to me that would be a more effective way of actually reaching out. Thank you.
So Peter, do you want to handle that one?
Is there another question? I'm just trying to see what's going on here.
Well, I could just add, when Miss Ellis talks to Libby, perhaps she could give her some of her ideas of where else she would like to see it, which websites and so on, because we do have a public outreach person that puts such things on the newsfeed page of our website, also on Instagram, also on Facebook. I'm not sure where else she'd like to see it, but we're always open to suggestions about how we handle our outreach and are very happy to hear any ideas.
Nancy, just to quickly follow up on that, thank you for that. We do try to widely get out information on social media, but I guess I'd want to know a little more about what specific information we're talking about. But just to follow back up on the communications issue, we presented a communications plan to the board in November. And since then, we've engaged a communications firm, one of a couple of firms that's helping us work harder, or not harder, but to be more transparent and more engaging with the community about information. And one of the things they did was an internal media audit. And we learned quite a bit from that. And some of it is a little bit what you've said, Sarah. People tend to find the website sometimes a little confusing, somewhat frustrating. There's a town manager e-newsletter that people mostly find too long. And we're trying to shorten it up and get things more directed to links and other places where people can get information. But again, we are, like Nancy said, we're always happy to get feedback and suggestions.
And Alan, I don't think there are any open questions, but there was a person whose first name is Pamela who had raised her hand. If Pamela is still here, please speak up.
Could you hear what he said? I could. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Peter. Could you speak up a little bit?
Yeah, on the chat, there was a person who raised her hand named Pamela, but she doesn't show as being still connected. So if you're on board, Pamela, please raise your hand again and we will be happy to answer your question. I don't think there are any further questions then,
No
Alex,
further.
so I think we've reached the end.
All right. I think then we'll wrap it up. Charlie, do you have any parting words or no?
Thanks to all of the panelists and those whose comments were featured in the excerpted videos. Very, very helpful to people who are interested in applying for a committee appointment or running for elected office. Thank you so much for your participation, and for all of you who are tuned into this, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Great. Thank you.